hello everyone. Welcome to the 2014 debate for the Democratic candidate for District 11 seat. We are quite privileged tonight, actually, to have it aired live and a nice audience that will have some chance to submit some questions, as I think they've been informed already. And the debate itself is a fairly standard format with some tweaking that I did to try to make the most out of the opportunity, and it includes the self-introductions of the panelists. It includes opening statements. It includes rounds of questions from the panelists. It also includes a candidate-to-candidate round, which will follow shortly after with another round from the panelists and then the questions from the audience. So we're going to jump right into it. Okay, are you guys ready for opening statements?
Sure.
Okay.
Do a coin flip?
So,
Introducing ourselves
do
first?
you want to? Yeah, you can introduce yourself, but we didn't even decide it, right? We're going to decide on television. You ready?
Oh.
Okay, so,
I'll say heads.
okay, well, this is how we figure it out, right? So, it's tails.
So I'll go second. For which one?
Okay, so you get to choose whether you
Okay.
go first or second, either this round or in the latter one.
Latter one. Latter one, I'll go second. Sure.
Okay, so what do you get the choice on this round? Who goes first, who goes second?
All right, so I'll go first.
Okay, go for it. You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And for those of you watching at home, thank you for tuning in. Bill, panelists, David, and those working in the back making this thing go well tonight. Thank you for being here and making tonight's debate possible. I'm running for state representative of District 11 here in Biddeford because I want to represent you. Our state faces many challenges, and voters in Biddeford are struggling to make ends meet. In 2013, more Mainers left our state than only one other state in the country, and that was West Virginia. As this trend continues, the state is forced to make up lost revenue by taxing those who can least afford it. This model is unsustainable and burdens middle-class families and our seniors. I will not stand by as seniors are forced to sell the homes that they have earned by years of long, hard work, and middle-class families as well, putting for sale signs on their front lawn. Improving our state and our city requires someone who is committed to doing the job. Commitment is woven into the fabric of our city. Biddeford exists today because of the hard work of those who came before us and those who stepped up and took their place. I was born and raised in Biddeford. I'm a proud Biddeford Tiger, and I'm the son and grandson of Biddeford mill workers. The value of hard work, getting back what you put in, was something that my meme and Pepe, my mom and dad, taught me from a young age. It was this hard work and the Franco way of never giving up that allowed me to be the first member of my immediate family to graduate from college. I'd be remiss to not say I'm a proud alumnus of the Catholic University of America. My Catholic faith is important to me. It has guided me to understand the importance of protecting and standing up for our neighbors, not just oneself. It is the golden rule that tells us that we should treat others the way we would like to be treated. And that's a principle that will stand with me in Augusta and something I will take and remember every day. We need to bring positivity back to government. We need fresh perspectives. And most importantly, we must reverse the trend of losing our workers, innovators, entrepreneurs, and recent college graduates to other states. I will work hard for you day in and day out in order to ensure that we can proudly say Biddeford is our city and it is our pride.
30 seconds.
Thank you so much tonight.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. And David, your turn.
Thank you. And welcome to everybody here. This is an important time in Biddeford's history. Sorry. Yep. This is an important time in Biddeford's history. We need to be well represented in the legislature. We need a person who has the experiences of having dealt with a large number of issues, and because of all the issues that are before the state right now, and other issues that might come before us. And I think I'm that person. In 1989, my wife Carolyn and I moved here with our 2 sons, who were 8 and 5 at the time. And we started a company. That's kind of nervy when you got two little kids. We were in our 30s. We had made a little money by buying an old house in Delaware and then fixing it up and selling it at a higher price. And we bet our money on a new business. And we were only panic-stricken for the first dozen years or so. But because of that, I understand what small businesses go through. And we grew our company to be 6 newspapers, 28 full-time employees, and a dozen or so part-time employees. When we sold our company, easily the biggest investment that Carol and I have made is the improvements at 265 Main Street, building that we developed with Caleb and Dana Johnson. It went from being empty to being one of the bright spots in the downtown. We certainly put our money in Biddeford. It's important to work with nonprofits. I was a member of the Rotary for 9 years, president of the Biddeford Soccer Chamber in 1996. We're still chamber members, but I'm pleased with the Heart of Biddeford. Shortly after being elected, Wallace Nutting called a meeting together to see about having a Main Street program. After the first meeting of 10 or a dozen people, Bob asked to meet with me. He asked me to head the Heart of Biddeford, and I agreed. We had to raise $40,000. Which is something, and especially on something that's just an idea. The first person I called was Bill Caney, the banker in Saco, and he helped an awful lot. I basically respected his experience an awful lot, and I listened to him. I'm still the major fundraiser for the Heart of Biddeford. I still do a lot of things. On Memorial Day, I'll be driving one of the cars that'll have the Grand Marshal or some other dignitary. We're still doing projects. By the end of June, there'll be a workout station in Mechanics Park. And also, we're working hard to see about funding to open up the mill tunnels to the general public. I don't think there's a single bigger issue that could affect Biddeford, a single bigger project that could affect Biddeford than opening up those tunnels. And I'll be the same way in Augusta. If a person has a concern, I'll pay attention. When I was with the Courier, one time there were 55 different in a single week.
30 seconds, David.
We had 55 little stories about bean suppers, bazaars, and special events. I paid attention to everybody. We always paid attention to everybody. I'll focus on 3 things: bringing jobs to Biddeford, making sure the city receives revenue-sharing money it deserves, and helping the downtowns. And if you think about this, would it be strange if the Courier didn't exist, if the Heart of Biddeford didn't exist? Would it be
10
strange?
seconds.
If the Main Street was still an empty building? I like to think that I'm a good part of that, why those things happen. Thank you.
Time's up. Nice job. Okay, so the next time we get right to the questions from the panelists. And I think I owe everyone a pardon. I'm not even sure I introduced myself at the beginning of this. My name is Bill Maycomber. I'm a Saco resident. I'm a fan of democracy, and I'm here partly in that regard. Ryan Fecteau had known me from years ago and asked me to participate, and I'm excited to do so, and I'm excited to help these really good candidates. I also wanted to mention that I know how hard it is sometimes to step up and really lead in your community, and there's not that many people willing to do it. So my hat's off to both of them, for doing that. The first round of questions from the panelists. Please introduce yourself and the organization you're affiliated with, and then get right into the questions.
Great.
These questions have a 90-second response, by the way, and then each candidate can answer the question. I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to review this for the audience. Each candidate has 90 seconds to answer the question, assuming it's not directed toward one, and then they have a 1-minute rebuttal to follow.
Great. Thank you for the invitation to participate here. My name is Ben Micklejohn. I'm the staff writer for the Biddeford Saco Old Orchard Beach Courier. My first question for the candidates would be, as you know, the state law requires voter approval for the school budgets. Some people argue that this requirement positions the school budgets to be voted against, not because voters don't support funding the schools, but because it's the only chance they have to weigh in on keeping their property taxes in check. Would you support requiring the same voter approval for the municipal side of the budget?
And was that, who would you like to answer first?
Both candidates.
Okay. So you started the opening, David. Why don't you answer this first?
No, I don't think I would. I think that the city council hears from people on the city council hear from the voters, and I think that they pay attention to them. I think they're extremely aware of the voters, and I think that it's confusing to have the elections like that. No, I wouldn't be in favor of it going over the municipal side.
I take a little bit of a different stance. I wouldn't support allowing that, and I also wouldn't support continuing the school validation referendums. The turnout is incredibly low. It just isn't productive to have such low turnout and people decide the fate of a lot of money. That's why we elect a school committee and we elect a city council, which validates the school budget. I think we should do away with having both of these, not having the city municipal budget go up to the voters, and we shouldn't have the school budget as well. It just doesn't work as, and, in an idealistic society where a lot of people turned out for every election, it would be great. But it's unfortunate that in the middle of the summer we're voting on a school budget with incredibly low turnout. So I know I wouldn't support that.
David, do you have anything to add?
No, I still wouldn't support it.
Okay, Ryan?
I echo his words. I still don't support it.
Okay, round two.
Okay, I'm Kristen Schultz-Musinski, managing editor of the Journal Tribune, and thank you, Bill, for inviting us to take part. I think I would kick off with the local issues. Some of the local issues have been kind of contentious here lately. I know particularly with our mayor, Alan Cassavant, doing some things at the state level to change things here. He was trying to get the superintendent residency requirement overturned at the state level, which didn't seem to be something local residents wanted, even though a lot of people felt it was what should be done to help us get the best superintendent possible. And that's been kind of an interesting debate, if you will. So I'm wondering what your take is on addressing super local issues at the state level, taking them to that level to get things resolved if you feel that the Biddeford voters, say, are thwarting something that they really need to help the city progress.
Okay, Ryan, want to begin?
Well, actually, I was on the charter commission when we made the decision regarding the change to the superintendent, and I did not support the change to allow the superintendent to be from elsewhere. And the voters here in Biddeford stood by that, and they didn't vote for it in November. And I think it's unfortunate that when local people make a decision, state officials then try to change it. I'm not in favor of that. I actually had my own proposal go out to the voters in November. I tried changing voting day here in Biddeford to Saturday. The voters didn't want it. It's not something I'm going to go to Augusta and try to change because they've made a decision. When voters speak, when they vote, that's the decision they made. It shouldn't be changed by someone else. That's just the way I think things should be.
Okay, David.
Yeah, I don't think that it should be changed. But your question is what should be taken to. If the question is what should be taken to the state in order to help local issues, I mean, I can have a problem with the superintendent, but I would hope that as a state representative that I could help local issues, but not that doesn't mean overturn what is decided locally, but it doesn't mean I can't help local issues. There's a parking problem in downtown Biddeford. Maybe something can be done on the state level. I mean, that's a very hazy statement, and I don't appreciate doing that. But I don't know. I would hope I could have some influence that would help Biddeford, but not to overturn what's been decided here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, again, say, if there's a decision that's been made locally, I don't think that at the state level that decision should be overridden as if the vote didn't count. That's all I have to say.
Anything else, David?
No, I'm fine. Okay, thanks.
All right, third question.
Hi, everyone. My name's Brooke Bailey. I'm a senior here at Biddeford High School, and I'm also one of the 2 student representatives on the Biddeford School Committee. My first question to the candidates is, do you think Maine's welfare system needs to be changed or strengthened? If so, what would you suggest?
I don't know. I think that's a really complicated issue, and I don't think I know all of it, all of the ins and outs of it. And I mean, I can imagine that things have to be changed, and I think that some issues are. I think that even to answer in 90 seconds, I don't think I can answer in 90 seconds how to run a newspaper. I don't think I can answer in 90 seconds how to do a downtown development project. I think that what you're asking is a lot trickier. I think it's worth looking at, and I hope we should be able to save money. I respect that people are suffering and that it's important to take care of people, and I certainly would be all in favor of that, but I don't know. I don't know.
Brooke, I'm actually glad you asked this question because I've been out talking to folks at their door and on the phone,
talk about that.
and if there's one issue I could say that comes up almost every conversation, it's about welfare. And, you know, I come from a Catholic perspective, as I mentioned, and I think it's important we take care of our neighbors and we help those who are most vulnerable amongst us. But there is a level of fraud, and there's been attempts to address it, and I think it's important that we continue to make those attempts to prevent any fraud from taking place with the welfare system. But I also think it's important that we try to find ways to make sure folks don't need welfare in the first place. I think that's the most important thing. It's not about trying to prevent people from getting it. It's about trying to prevent people from needing it in the first place. And I think that's the most important thing. It's a very complicated question, that's for sure. But folks want to know where people stand on this issue because it's one that's really important to them.
So we each have a minute.
Sure. I don't think there should be fraud. If a candidate ever says, I don't really care about fraud. I think that people are suffering, and I think that they are. Do I have all the specifics? I don't have all the specifics. I think if people are talking about things, they're talking about taxes, and they're concerned about taxes and all the state cost, and then this is a big part of the state cost. Anyway, I think it's a complicated issue. I think that people deserve help, but I am in favor of them having jobs. Yes, I mean, and jobs is a big part of what I'm pushing. What I'll be pushing for. That's it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I think we have to realize the state of our state. There's more and more folks who can't find the jobs they need or the jobs that they were trained for, and that's a big problem. That's why we experience such a huge, I guess, welfare bubble. But at the same token, you have a lot of folks who can't find jobs because they've moved away. You know, and I think what's really important is to consider the fact that we have so many people leaving our state, moving elsewhere, and it's leaving us with a lot of folks who aren't skilled or who can't run a business and these sort of things. They've moved elsewhere. The property taxes are too high here. They can't make a living here, and that's really what we need to start to address. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to attack the welfare issue and make sure folks are not needing it as much as they used to.
Perfect timing. Now I want to make sure some of the audience I know that knew that there was an opportunity to pose questions to the candidates. A couple questions will be picked at the end. And if you haven't had a chance, she's got some slips. If anyone thinks they might want to pose a question, we're going to collect them in a little while. So please, I'm not sure the young woman's name in the front. It's Shara will help you. She's got pens and slips, so feel free. Okay, we're going to go right into the second round of questions. Now starting with...
All right, so my second question is, there have been countless conversations about what downtown Biddeford needs to attract more people. What do you think it needs the most?
Well, I think what's most important about downtown Biddeford is the fact that we have to really realize the fact that we have the University of New England not too far away. The University of New England has 64% of its student body from out of state. This is a great opportunity to enhance our downtown and also bring in fresh perspectives, diverse perspectives from a lot of different folks. These students have families, and their families come and visit for breaks, and they drop them off and they pick them up. These are tremendous opportunities to invite families and future families to Biddeford, to invest in Biddeford. And I think we really need to focus on what students at the University of New England would like to see downtown, because they really are the future of Biddeford, and we need to start focusing on that. I also think it's important to make sure we keep the things that were important to Biddeford in the past. We can't change what means a lot to us and what really brought us to where we are today. So I think we need to strike a balance between what matters, what mattered to us in the past, and what also matters to us in the future. I think it's just incredibly important. And actually, Forbes magazine had a report a couple years ago saying that when more college students stay in a city, their downtowns are revitalized quicker, and they're
15
much more
seconds.
vibrant. And I think it's important that we focus on that, because there's a lot of opportunity there that I think is being unmet.
Okay, David?
I certainly think that we need to attract UNE students, so I think we need to do things like, have coffee shops like Elements and, at 265 Main Street. The most important thing about what downtown Biddeford needs right now is parking. I mean, it sounds like a mundane answer. There's over 1.5 million square feet of mill space. All of it's in great, no, not all of it. Nearly all of it's in very good shape. If that wants to flourish, if that wants to develop as it can, then you need to have parking. If you have parking, then the jobs will come, more housing will come, the Main Street will actually fill up more. The mill rate should become stabilized. It should be. I mean, at North Dam Mill, I think that when Doug Sanford bought them, they were paying like $8,000 or $9,000 in taxes, and now it's up to about $120,000. And I think he's making enough money. It's perfectly fine that he pays him a lot more in taxes.
30 seconds. David.
But we do need to worry about parking. I would hope that on the state level, the state has helped fund a Riverwalk. Maybe somehow the state can help with parking somehow. I'm on the advisory council in the main
10
downtown
seconds.
center, and I think a lot of other downtowns have parking concerns also. It could help for the whole state.
I think parking is definitely an issue. There should be more parking, but I think unfortunately, I've been out, again, I've been talking to voters, I've been knocking their doors, I've been making phone calls, and most of the folks, if not all the folks I've spoken to, do not want to see parking meters downtown. And so if we're going to address the parking situation, we need to make sure we're addressing it with other means and finding other solutions. But right now, I know for a fact that folks are not behind putting parking meters downtown. And it's an issue that I go back and forth with. The person who's helped me with all my communications is Matt Dubois. He does great work, and he's an advocate for doing parking meters. And I just think it's unfortunate that right now we can't do that, because folks don't have the money to be spending to go downtown and pay for parking. It's just not realistic.
I would hope that if somebody asked me about parking meters downtown, I would correct them and say that we're not just talking about having parking meters downtown. It's all part of a parking system, and that if there are meters, that would just be a small part of it, and that there are a lot of different options that you can have with meters. You could have all of the residents be exempt from having to ever pay for parking, even with the meters there. There are so many different options. But you need to have extra parking. In order for the mills to develop, in order for downtown Biddeford to flourish, you need to have more parking, and it's not parking meters. It's really not. That's not an understanding of the situation. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. The first to answer will be David. Next question.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Maine has a sexual offender registry law where offenders are required to report their residency to law enforcement officials. However, a convicted killer or other violent offender could move in next door to you without being subject to the same residency reporting requirements. Many states have a violent offender registry. Would you support the establishment of a violent offender registry?
Sure. Yeah. I'm not going to be on the side of either sex offenders or violent people. Anyway, so if somebody killed somebody and they moved next door to me, I would want to know it. Yeah, and also, and I don't have young kids right now, but I would want to know if there's a sex offender. Sure. I mean, yes, sure, I would support that. that if somebody killed somebody, I would hope they'd be in jail for a long time, anyway, for at least a long time. Anyway, okay.
Well, it's definitely not an issue that I've thought about before, and I mean, like any issue, I wouldn't want to be hasty in making a decision and just saying yes or no. But I think it seems fair to have some sort of listing where there's violent crime. I mean, I've seen cities that actually do maps where you can go online and you can see what sort of crimes have happened around you, not even necessarily who's this and who's that. So I think any of these sort of things that raise awareness, I think, are definitely good. And I would certainly be open to hearing about the needs for such a registry.
You have an opportunity, David.
No, I'm still opposed to killers and child molesters. That's it, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still opposed. I'm done. All right, thank you.
And quite obviously, I am as well. So.
All right. I think what's on everybody's mind the most when we're looking for a candidate is money. Like you mentioned, taxes. Everyone's always about taxes. There's been some talk recently in the legislature about changing the tax structure in some ways, adding different service taxes, sales taxes to different things. A lot of that's been stonewalled by different industries, but doing a local option tax that's been talked about in Old Orchard Beach. What's your thought about Maine's tax structure right now? What would you change? What would you keep? What's good and bad?
Yeah, well, I think it's incredibly unfortunate that a lot of the taxes that Maine produces is by property taxes. It's the most regressive tax that we have, and it's hurting everyone. It doesn't matter if you're living in an apartment or you're a homeowner. Property taxes affects everyone, and I think we need to start focusing on ways to produce revenue by not killing people with property taxes. I also think it's unfortunate that the LePage administration made $150 million in tax cuts, which overwhelmingly helped folks who make $350 or more a year. These are the sort of things that we need to make sure that we're not supporting when we're in Augusta, and you better believe that when I go to Augusta, I will not be supporting these things. Maine's median income is $46,000. We need to be supporting those folks in the middle, not those at the top.
I don't know. I mean, a basic answer is I'm not sure how to completely change Maine's tax structure. I think that people who make more money should pay more money. I think that everybody should pay a fair share, whatever the definition of a fair share is. But if you make more money, then you should pay more. I mean, I think that. And I'm concerned about the state doing revenue sharing. I mean, they should do their fair share of revenue sharing so that the city council and school board can pass budgets that make sense. I consider that to be something that. So sure, I want people to pay a fair share, and if you make more money, then you should pay more money. But to have all the specifics, I don't know that. Yeah.
So there was actually a measure in the Appropriation Committee which was seeking to restore $40 million to local towns. This ties back to revenue sharing. $10.8 million would go towards tax relief to local commercial property owners, and $29.2 million towards tax relief for residential property owners. These are the sort of proposals we need to stand behind in Augusta. You better believe I'll be standing behind it. Governor LePage called for cuts to revenue sharing, but in reality, revenue sharing saves property owners tons of money. $26 million would be lost in funding K through 12 if revenue sharing were to be eliminated. $12 million in local town operations. The revenue sharing subsidizes local property owners and taxpayers. We need to make sure we protect it. I echo those words. We also need to be protecting the person in the middle. That's all I have to say about that.
Sure. If you make more money, you should pay more money, and we should be worried about revenue sharing. There we go. I will always be concerned about revenue sharing, making certain that the state pays the cities a fair amount. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm curious with the panelists. We've all had an opportunity to ask 2 questions. You got one left?
No, she has to, yeah.
Okay. So the next round is going to be candidate-to-candidate questions. But before they begin, any questions that came from the audience, I would like to collect those so that I can give them to the panelists who are going to review them and pick a couple of them. Okay, would one of you like to be the first to ask the question?
I don't mind. Did you start the last round?
Candidate-
I can
candidate
start.
questions?
Okay. My question is, what do you read?
I read mostly online now, unfortunately, but I do check on the Journal Tribune every day, Portland Press, and well, the Journal I can only see headlines because you have to actually buy a subscription to their website. So unfortunately, I can't read everything there. But I read the Sun Chronicle and the Courier and local newspapers, and I don't watch any television news. Not a fan. So local newspapers and whatever I can find online. No, I guess.
Okay, so you have a chance for a follow-up question to that if you want any more details or more.
No, I mean that.
If you want to know if I watch Bill O'Reilly, the answer is no.
No, I guess I was just thinking that. Well, I mean, do you read the New Yorker? Do you read Atlantic? Do you read the Sunday New York Times? Do you read this, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I go the website, the Atlantic. I go on the Atlantic pretty frequently, so that's one of my saved tabs online.
Okay.
Okay, Ryan, it's your turn to field the question.
My question is, was there any particular decision you made while on the city council that you might have regretted, and what did you learn from that decision?
When I was on council the second time, I think it was really dumb that I got off the council. I mean, if that's a basic question and answer, I think that was I guess I've made a mistake in my life. I've probably made more than one anyway, but that was one. I learned that I shouldn't do it, and I learned that, I mean, but I am not in favor of conflicts of interest. I thought there was a conflict of interest, and so, so I wouldn't place myself in a position to have a similar conflict of interest.
And I get to ask a follow-up.
Yeah, you can ask.
Yeah.
So you're 100% committed to this job, right?
Yes.
Are you ready? Okay, the panelists have at least 2 questions from the audience. So, and there may be an opportunity to ask another one at the end if we're running on time.
Okay. This one's actually pretty similar to a question I had of my own. It reads, what can be done to make post-high school education affordable to Maine citizens, both teens and those trying to change careers? And what can be done to stop the brain drain of young folks leaving Maine?
Am I answering first?
So, yes, Ryan. you-
Okay. Well, I mean, this has been the biggest thing that I've been talking about in this campaign. When young people and young workers leave our state, it has a huge impact on those who are still living here. We're seeing more and more young people and young workers leave our state, and more property owners who happen to be elderly and our seniors are living here, and they're struggling to get by. They're struggling to pay their taxes. They're struggling to pay for their medications. They're struggling to pay for their groceries. We need to start focusing on getting young people and young workers back to our state in order to revitalize what's taking place here. And you know, unfortunately, education is not cheap. It's really expensive. You know, I have $180,000 in student loan debt. I know what it means to go put some hard work in and come back and then have to pay it off. It's not going to be easy, but it was worth the investment for me. I'm fortunate I found a job here. But a lot of folks are not going to have those same opportunities here in Maine, and that's why we need to expand programs like Opportunity Maine, which provides a tax incentive for college graduates who stay here in Maine, get their education in Maine. I also think we need to start focusing on more ways to get students to go to school for jobs that are skilled jobs and trades. These are really important, and there's not only a brain drain, but there's a skills drain as well, and we need to start making sure students are skilled and also have the education they need.
Okay, David.
Hi. In order to keep people here, students here, I started that's the reason for starting a magazine. Part of the reason for starting a magazine. You start a business to make money. I mean, that's the primary reason. It's called Innovation Maine. We started this. A lot of us, me, started this 7 months ago. It's a monthly publication. It's to encourage Maine's creative and innovative economy. These are different issues that we've had. And we've touched on student issues. Thornton Academy has a really good program of training, of giving people training so they can step into a really good job as soon as they graduate from high school even. I think that with every issue, we have an awful lot of stories about how people can start businesses and why they should stay in Maine, and why Maine is a really good place to grow a business. If you go to growmaineshow.com, you can even read listen to a lot of the interviews.
30 seconds.
Specifics, I'm always aware that everything's in the details, and I'm in favor of. I have a 33-year-old son who moved to Delaware because he thought that things were it was difficult
10
to
seconds.
find jobs here. I'm in favor of keeping people and keeping the jobs here and the economy stronger.
Follow-up opportunity?
Well, for a matter of fact, we don't need to go to Thornton Academy as an example of where students are being trained, but right here at Biddeford High School, we have the luxury of having the Center of Technology, where students are trained and are given the skills they need to get a job right after high school. And I think that program is a shining light and a shining example for the rest of our state. But I talked to Angelo, an 87-year-old man, the other day, and he gets it. He told me that we can't keep supporting the state by raising property taxes. Angelo is right. But until we focus on the value of retaining young people and workers here in the state of Maine, this trend will continue. As the next representative of this district, that will be my number one priority.
Hi. Certainly there are good examples at Biddeford High School. We actually had a specific story about Thornton Academy, for whatever. It's important to keep students here. It's important to keep people here. It's important to help grow the innovative and creative economy of Maine. And I think I'm doing a significant part of that by printing these magazines. Thank you.
Okay, next question. And this one, David will begin.
Okay, this is for both candidates. What will you do to support Medicaid expansion?
I'll support it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. He said it to support it. I don't know all the details of a large question like that. So I mean, I think that it's important to. It's important for everybody to have health care. It's important that everybody can receive it, and then it's important to try to figure out the best way to pay for it. And I think that there's such a tremendous number of details. But I'm in favor of everybody. There you go.
Expanding Medicaid and expanding Maine Care is incredibly important, and you better believe that if Mike Michu is our next governor, he will be signing the bill, and I'll be voting in favor of it. 80% of those on Medicaid are our seniors. Expanding Medicaid to 70,000 more Mainers, that's important to me. That's something I value. Helping others is something I value. In addition to that, $690 million in projected savings over the next 10 years if we implement the expansion of Medicaid. There's no doubt in my mind, I will be supporting it.
Anything to follow up, David?
I think that we both support expanding that. Thank you.
You got another opportunity, Ryan.
It's just so important. These are issues that affect a lot of people here in our district. We have a large elderly population. In fact, I spoke to a woman the other day. She's 73 years old. She just had to go back and get a job because her husband passed away. She can't afford property taxes anymore. And now she's riding a school bus here in our district. You know, helping others and expanding Medicaid and all these other issues, these are important things. We're helping folks. And I think, you know, we need to have someone up there who's going to advocate, who's going to be enthusiastic and passionate about getting things done. And that's what I intend on doing.
Excellent. So we had two from the audience, correct? And now we're going to return to panelist questions and say, if you got two more, it's your option as far as whether you want to field those questions or field your own. But we plan for the panelists to ask the two more questions each. And then
Okay.
if there's time left, we'll go back to the audience questions. But you can use those questions if you want.
I think is it okay at this point to ask directed questions to each candidate?
It is. I'm hoping to get an equal amount. If it's
Okay.
to one candidate, it'd be good to have another one to the other if you have them. If you
Right.
don't, we'll have
I
to
think,
live with.
do you want me to do them both at the same time or kind of?
Well, actually, if you have the two, that would be great. Why don't
Okay.
you go ahead and field
think-
one to, this one would be to Ryan first.
Okay, so Ryan first. I think the one from the audience ties in with one I was going to ask too, kind of like Brooks did. It says, as a member of the youthful generation, what qualities do you bring to the state legislature? Is your age a hindrance or a help going into that?
You know, I get that question a lot from other people who I haven't been knocking on doors of. I've been knocking doors since last June. I've been making phone calls since last June. I've been at this for a year. And everyone I speak to, for the most part, I've had a few, but no one is apprehensive about my age. They're excited to see someone with a lot of enthusiasm, passion to get things done, and that's what I intend on doing. You know, I have friends from all political stripes, Republican, Democrat, everywhere in between. We don't always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we often are changing each other's minds, and that's what I look forward to doing in Augusta. I want to listen to everyone. I want to work together with those across the aisle. I want to work with those within my own party and everyone in between. As long as we're making progress for Mainers, that's what's important to me. And so, you know, I think I bring fresh perspectives. I bring a new vision. I bring you know, just a lot of enthusiasm and energy to make sure we're doing good for the city of Biddeford. So, no, I don't think I'm hindering anyone.
Okay.
I
Question
think
for
the
David.
one for David, I was wondering, you mentioned that one of your regrets was stepping down from the council because you
Yeah.
felt you had a conflict of interest working with a newspaper. At this point, you were pushing the Innovation Main too, so you're still working with a publication. Do you think there's going to be any conflict as a legislator to still be working as a publisher?
No, I don't think there will, because I'm not going to be covering, I don't cover the legislature with that. If the magazine was Maine Government Monthly, well then, maybe there would be a conflict of interest. It's a job. I hope most of the state legislators have a job. If you're a teacher and you're a state legislator, I mean, some of the things you vote on up, you know, in Augusta would affect your job. Or could possibly, but no, I mean, it's a different. I am not covering the legislature, so no, there is not a conflict of interest.
Okay, so we can go into the next kind of full round of questions from the panelists. And I'm assuming these are for both of them. Okay, so it would be Brooke.
So my next question is, do you think that the Maine minimum wage should be raised for workers? I think this is an interesting question for the both of you, both being Democrat. I know that Democrats definitely towards the lean that they do support raising the minimum wage, but David, I know that being a businessman, a lot of business people don't support it, so that's my question.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, who's first? I'm not trying to be different.
Can you restate the question, please?
No, I understood your question.
I'll just
I
go
wasn't certain
first.
who was going. Okay.
Who's
You
going
know,
first?
I
I'm sorry.
believe it's important that we raise the minimum wage. You know, it's time that we consider workers as assets rather than expenditures. I think they're too often, you know, we make cuts and we look at numbers, but we don't look at people. I think that's really important. But I also understand where small businesses are coming from. In fact, I spoke to a man the other day. He owns Claude's Upholstery right on Elm Street, and he told me, you know, if we raise the minimum wage, I only have one employee, and if I raise her minimum wage, I'll have to cut her hours, I'll have to cut the days she comes in. I'm already not giving myself as much money as I probably should be getting running the business. And so I would be interested in having a small business exemption from the minimum wage increase. I would like to talk to colleagues up in Augusta about it. I think it's important that we consider small businesses. I don't know what will define a small business. It's something we need to investigate, but I think it's important that we keep everyone's interests at heart, and we don't want to adversely affect small businesses when we're trying to help people's lives. So we have to strike a balance on that issue, and that's where I come from at right now.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge that I created a little confusion after the question was stated because I didn't indicate clearly who was supposed to answer first. And I thought that it was a question about the question, but it was really about who was going to answer first. And so I'm sorry about that, David. So you can
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm in favor of raising the minimum wage right now. I think that with an awful lot of other, as with a lot of other questions, there are so many details. You see, I think that I have a son who works in a restaurant. Sometimes I think that people in restaurants could be treated more fairly concerning the minimum wage. I think that you have a lot of categories. Maybe when I was a teenager, I got paid dirt anyway, and but maybe that was fair. I think it would, instead of having this build up over a number of years, maybe it makes sense to also negotiate a cost of living increase on a regular basis so that it doesn't go for several years and then it seems to be a big issue. I mean, that it can just kind of, that it can work with the cost of living. I mean, I think that, so I'm in favor of there being a minimum wage. I think that $7.25 is too low. And I think that, but I would hope that a lot of details
30 seconds.
would be worked out so that it would be more fair. When we employed people, we never paid anybody minimum wage. We always pay people more. And certainly I know that we always thought of people as assets. And we pay people more than
10 seconds.
than what other companies did, and so we had our pick of who we wanted to hire. So that was good.
The bottom line is this: since 1970, corporate profits have increased and wages have not. The corporate tactics of cutting wages to increase their profits, it's a detriment to our economy. It stifles the middle class, and we need to start addressing this. It's simply something I will not stand idle and wait for change. We need to start attacking this issue. We need to start looking at ways to make sure that workers are given the respect that they deserve for the work that they put in. And I think that it's important that we raise the minimum wage, and it's also important that we look at other ways to make sure workers are being treated fairly.
David, you have an opportunity.
I think they were both in favor of raising the minimum wage. I think that sure. I think I would look at more. I think I would look more carefully at all the details. I think that it's an issue that's come to a head, and so then it makes sense to deal with it, and then maybe we don't have to deal with it again for at least several more years. And so a lot of details need to be looked at the same time. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to mention that we were getting close to some lively audience participation, and actually both candidates agreed to try to ask the audience to wait for applause toward the end, if you could. Okay, so next question, please.
Okay, partisanship is high. Surely you're going to have plenty of opportunities to discuss your differences from Republicans and your opposition to Republicans. However, I'm curious to know, specifically, where do you think you might find some common ground in working with Republicans in the legislature?
Ryan would field this first.
Well, I think drawing back to the previous question, I think respecting workers and doing right by workers. Republicans have minimum wage earners in their party just as Democrats do. Respecting workers and doing good for workers, I think is something where we're going to find some common ground. I think there'll be Republicans who are willing to support raising the minimum wage. I think there's Republicans who will support making sure that our economy can get going again, and we can bring jobs and we can bring property taxes down. I don't think there's anyone that thinks that property taxes is not a regressive tax. It's regressive. We can't continue to increase property taxes on folks who just can't afford it anymore. And you know, I went to the Catholic University of America. It's a very conservative campus, so I've had a chance to work with folks from all different political stripes, and I've had disagreements, but I've also had a lot of agreements in finding common ground. I think it's important. I know
30
I have the
seconds.
benefit of going to a place that was not necessarily welcoming of all of my stances on issues, but I definitely learned how to maneuver through them and also join hands and get some things done. So I think that's important.
Go ahead, David.
A guy named Bill Gay almost beat Alan Cassavant in the last election that he had for state rep. I think Bill Gay is a great guy. I mean, he's a Republican. There's a guy who was a state senator, Chris Rector. I think Chris Rector is a great guy, and he works for Angus King right now. I think that I think that if you're a newspaper guy over a long period of time, you're used to talking to a wide variety of people, and you used to talk, and almost always you talk to them on their turf. You go to where their business is or what they are interested in, and I think that so I am used to having calm conversations with people. And from a wide variety of interests, and I'm used to trying to listen to everybody. I mean, to trying to listen to both sides. I would hope that when we ran stories that you couldn't tell from the story which side we were on for
30
almost
seconds.
any topic. I would hope that I would hope. I mean, you know, and so everybody's fallible. I would hope we could do that. It's what I'm used to doing. I mean, and I think that the city council is good because it's nonpartisan. For
10
whatever.
seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You know, I think we often think of Democrats as all sharing the same ideas as well. But, you know, we're not a very cohesive party ourselves. I've been knocking on doors and talking to voters, and I've talked to Democrats with all sorts of different ideas, all sorts of different opinions on issues. You know, it's about striking a balance just as it is with Republicans or independents. You have to find where you stand and what's important to you and what do you think is important for the people you represent. And so, you know, I've had plenty of Democrats that I've spoken to that have completely different ideas on different things. You know, it's just about trying to represent people. And I'll tell you, you know, Mr. Gay is running against my good friend Diane Dank for that seat, that House seat, and you better believe I'll be working really hard to make sure Diane Dank is our next representative in that district. She's a great worker. She's going to work hard for the people of Biddeford, so I'll be
15
supporting her
seconds.
for sure.
Is Bill Gay running against her?
I believe so.
I thought it was Mr. Seavey or Seavey who was running against him, but running against her. But in any case, I'm really, well, anyway, I can, I don't know. I'm used to talking to people. I'm in favor of getting along with a wide variety of people, and I might have a quiet intensity, but I would be so thrilled if we could ever, for example, get the tunnels open to the public. I mean, which doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I'm used to getting things done. I'm used to getting things done with a wide variety of people. That's how you do the heart of Biddeford. That's how you do a lot of other things. If you want to get things done, you need to work with a wide variety
10
of people.
seconds.
And I'm used to working with a wide variety of people. And we got a lot of things done. A lot of things done. Thank you.
Good job. Next question. Take a drink of water, candidates. You must be pretty tired at this point.
This kind of ties in with one of the questions from the audience too. I think Biddeford's economic challenges, a lot of talk has been around redeveloping the downtown. That's been a lot of your focus and is obviously important to residents and getting new businesses in here to lower the taxes and so on. Wondering what you would do at the state level to help with incentives, you know, tax incentives, bringing business to Maine. Right now it's known as kind of a business unfriendly state, if you will. What would your push be to change that at the state level?
David's first.
Yeah. I don't think it's a business-unfriendly state, so I guess I disagree with the basic thought there. I mean, I think that there's an awful lot of things that are right about doing business in Maine. I think there's a lot of people at the state level that want to help you, and you can be a state rep and encourage that. I think that's awfully good. I think that because of the state, you have programs like the TIF program. I think that you can help do that. I don't know that you can't help the towns with their problems more than what is currently being helped. I think, and also, I have with the advisory council of the Maine Downtown Center. I went to Holton, I went to Millinocket, and we tried, and with like 5 other people, we tried to help them with their downtowns. I think that I don't want to tell people in Holton necessarily how to spend their money, if I'm with the state, but so if just to make more money available, then I think in order to do the revenue sharing is a big deal. Generally, encouraging jobs is a big deal. And then for downtowns, if you do the downtowns,
30
a whole lot
seconds.
of other things fall into place. The mill rate becomes more stable. You have more jobs. You have actually, you have a nicer place to live if things are done well. Yeah, anyway, there's an awful lot of things that go right if that happens. Anyway, if the downtowns are developed.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Well, I had a voter the other day who expressed her concern about historical tax credits and the city of Biddeford losing them. We have a lot of historical buildings. We need to make sure we're protecting our historical tax credits and making sure that Biddeford can have as many as possible to renovate those buildings. But again, it ties back to making sure that young people and young workers are not moving away from our state. These people are innovative. They're entrepreneurs. They bring new ideas and new perspectives and new ways to start businesses and to revitalize businesses and rejuvenate businesses. And I think if we continue to let the trend continue where folks are moving away, we're losing opportunities to have these sort of businesses. And I think it's important that we find ways to keep them there, because you can open a business, but if you don't have the workers to do the work, your business is not going to thrive. It's not going to be successful. It's important that we get these people back to Maine, to stay in Maine after they graduate. Hopefully Brooke will be one of them. I don't know,
10
but
seconds.
we need to make sure we keep these people here.
Biddeford's not going to lose its historic tax credits because that's not the way the program works. But that's a different discussion. With 265 Main Street, we did federal and state historic tax credits. And when I knock on doors, and I've knocked on lots of doors, that they are concerned about taxes. But if the downtown works, and so you do the heart of Biddeford, you do 265 Main Street, and you worry about parking, a lot of the downtowns fall into place, or it certainly does make a difference. That's all. Thank you.
And it's not just about downtown. Downtown is definitely
it's not
key
just
to the
about downtown.
future of our city. We have industrial parks that we need to make sure are developed. We have places outside of just downtown that are important. And actually, downtown isn't even in this district. Our district represents far more than Biddeford. We need to make sure that we're revitalizing and making these places work as well. It's a puzzle. It's all about making sure all these parts are together, not just one. So I'll be focused on not just downtown. You better believe I'll be focused on all of Biddeford.
Okay, so we are running slightly behind time. So we had planned on 3 more questions from the panel, and we're going to continue with that. But we're going to abbreviate the response time and eliminate the rebuttal. So you'll
Okay.
each have 1 minute to respond to the question, and then we'll move to the next question. Okay, and then we'll go to closing statements. So this next question, it would be Ryan to answer first. The next question.
My next question is about a big issue that's been in the news a lot over the past year. And by the way it's looking, I don't really think it's going away, but what is your opinion on legalizing recreational marijuana in the state of Maine?
Oh boy. I'm first. Okay. I've already responded, and I'm already on the record with Randy Seaver's blog, so I can't change my mind now. No, I still support it. The thing is, the state is revenue strapped, and we're looking for ways to generate revenue. I think legalizing marijuana is a good way to make sure that we have another means of gaining revenue here in the city. I don't support the Democratic Party putting in their platform. I think I don't think it's a party platform issue, but on an individual level, I'll definitely support it. Even though I will never actually take part in the use of marijuana. So, just got to clarify, of course.
Okay, David?
I'd be in favor of it. I wouldn't be in favor of it because it brings in revenue. It might also bring in revenue, but I'd be in favor of it because I think that somebody drinking is just as dangerous as somebody who's stoned. I think that there needs to be laws into place. I think that you shouldn't drive when you're high, just like you shouldn't drive when you're drunk. I think that there should be limitations. I think that a lot of specifics need to be put into place, but make it not dissimilar from drinking alcohol. Not dissimilar anyway. I mean, so I would be in favor of it, and but you just need to have the requirements. The police need to be able to test to see if somebody's high, just like they can test to see if somebody's had alcohol. I mean, you can't be dangerous to
10
somebody
seconds.
else. But I'd be in favor of it. Yeah.
Okay, next question. David answers first.
Yeah.
Do you think the University of Maine system should be administratively restructured? If so, how?
I don't know. Wow. I'm sorry. I don't know if it should be, and I don't know how it should be. I don't know. There you go. I'm sorry.
And I'm only a few steps away from college, and I also really don't know. But I think it's important. The University of Southern Maine recently had that issue with cutting teachers, and I really think it's important that we protect professors and those who are doing the education. We spend a lot of money. A lot of states do on paying for the salaries of our coaches and those sort of folks. And I think it's important that if we're going to protect people, they should be the people that are teaching our students first, and not the people that are making sure that they win a football game or a hockey game.
Okay. Next question. Last question.
So close with this. The Racino issue was something a lot of people in this area had their hopes pinned on a few years back. That fell through. Gambling in Maine has been a fairly contentious issue. Wondering what your take is on gambling, not only Racino, but slots and other things like that. What your take is on that and the expansion of it.
And you're first, I think. Yeah.
Oh boy. So back in when we voted on that the last time in 2011, I believe, I was on the fence, to be honest. I thought the location for the Racino was not good. I thought that, you're going to have people coming right off I-95, gambling their money away and then hopping right back on, and we're not going to see any of the resources that those people came with to stimulate our businesses downtown and those sort of things. So I think as far as the Racino issue at the local level, I think if it were to come up again, I hope that we can find a new location for it that's able to drive business downtown and to other local businesses as well. And I'll be interested in seeing what comes up at the
10
state
seconds.
level. As far as other slots and stuff, I think it should be decided by local voters, just like it was in Biddeford. Biddeford voters supported it. I think it should be a local decision.
Perfect timing. So that ends the questions.
He didn't answer.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
About that.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that gambling is foolish, except, of course, if anybody owns a small business, then they are gambling with the amount of money that they put into that small business. If you could pass a law if I could pass a law that would eliminate smoking, then I would be in favor of doing that. I don't think that a law like that can be passed. Okay. I think that for the Racino issue in Biddeford, it would have been a huge mistake. The Merck lot, if you've been there, is 8.5 acres. They were talking about all he needed was 8 acres for where the Racino would be. On the Merck lot, are you going to fit you know, the grandstand, all the parking, the places for the Racino, places for horses to run around. No, it would have been horrible where it was. It would have been interesting to hear Lewiston had a option
10 seconds.
of having it in their downtown, close to everything. I would have been willing to listen to that, even though if I could eliminate smoking, I would vote against smoking, but I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, so, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I don't like gambling, for whatever. Yeah.
Now that officially ends the
Okay.
question round. Sorry about that. And each candidate will have a chance to give out their closing remarks. And they decided at the beginning, David, you had the choice in the final round.
And I was going to go second.
You're going to go second.
Yeah.
Well, I'll first and foremost say that I think people should be able to smoke if they want to. But, you know, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank those who are watching at home, and I want to thank Bill and the panelists and those working behind the scenes to make sure this debate was able to take place tonight. The difference in this race is listening. I've been knocking on doors and making phone calls to voters since last June. Why? Well, I take this job seriously. Serving District 11 as your next representative is not just about my ideas and what I think is important for improving our district. It is first and foremost about bringing your ideas and concerns to Augusta. That's why when I knock on your door or phone your home, I take notes. Your stories, your concerns, your challenges, the ideas you have for solving problems. These things together will change our city. At times, the challenges might seem insurmountable, but if you get a chance to visit the lagoon that rests beneath the Pepperell Mills, hopefully one day, and you see the large granite blocks that were used to build it, you understand that the hard work of those who came before us, and despite not having cranes to move this terribly heavy granite block, they did. We too can carry Biddeford and our state forward. By voting for me on June 10th, you will cast a vote for someone who will carry every challenge that our city faces, no matter how heavy they might be. And I will focus every day to ensure that the biggest challenge we face comes to an end. The loss of skilled workers to other states must not continue. Our seniors must not face the decision of cutting back on groceries, medications, paying the mortgage, or coming out of retirement again to work. Together, by mustling enough strength to reverse these trends, Maine will once again stand proudly as the way life should be, whether you're a senior, a middle-class family, an entrepreneur, an innovator, a student, or a recent graduate. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Ryan Fecteau. I'm running for State Representative of District 11, and I hope that I can count on your vote on June 10th. Thank you.
Applause, welcome.
Hi. My thanks to everyone, to Bill Maycomber for moderating, to Ryan for caring, to the panelists for asking the questions, and people at home for listening, and everybody out there. And I hope this has been a help. For reasons to vote for me, I'm concerned about jobs. If the mills are developed to their full potential, there will be jobs. I'm concerned about the revenue sharing from the state. If you want to stabilize the effect on the mill rate, then you need to watch that constantly. I'm concerned about the downtown. If you're concerned about conservation in Biddeford, then you have to be concerned about the downtown. I mean, it ties in. It completely ties in every time. If you need to place people in jobs where the infrastructure already is. I'm good at coming up with a plan. Right now we have curbside recycling. That was the basic plan that we have. Is the plan that I put forth when I was on the council. I can look at something, I can come up with a plan, and I can then explain it to people. And then it took a couple extra years, but it worked out. I'm comfortable talking to people, like Bill Caney, when we started the Heart of Biddeford. I'm careful about doing research. And I really care about Biddeford. Two of my favorite phrases are gritty elegance. I think Biddeford has a gritty elegance. I think that there are hardworking people. At the same time, City Theater is amazing. And it means so you have the grittiness and you have the elegance. At the same, and also a phrase I like is you can make it in Biddeford, and I think that has the double entendre. I think that you can be a success in Biddeford. At the same time, Biddeford people make things. That's what the people in the mills did. I have done an awful lot of research on the mills and the tunnels and everything, and I so completely respect that. People make things in Biddeford, and you make a success in Biddeford. The Heart of Biddeford's Main Street Challenge is all about inviting people here and trying to get people to open up shops and work here. And between things like the Heart of Biddeford, 265 Main Street, the Courier, I think I have a long history of working hard and making things work. Thank you.
Good job, you guys were great keeping to the time. I want to thank everyone for coming, the audience for paying attention. I want to make a point that this was a real test for these two guys. They had no idea coming in here what the questions were, other than what might be in the general topics, but it wasn't like field specific. I mean, it could come from anywhere, and they did. So I hope you appreciate the test they went through and the work they're doing on behalf of giving everybody a chance to make an informed vote. So thanks, panelists. Thanks, candidates. And there you have the 2014 debate for the Democratic candidate.